Hello, everyone. My name is Suzanne Hart, and this week's habit is persistence. This is the act of being patient. It is to take consistent, productive action until you accomplish a goal. Now, persistence has a few components. It has passion, it has practice, and then it has this thing called patience. Now, really, this is what brings your commitment to life, because commitment cannot exist without the act of being persistent, to continue to take that action in the face of challenge, in the face of frustration, in the face of actually not knowing what to do, to be persistent. Now, the best way to explain this to you is to tell you a quick story. When I was little, my mom sent me to camp, and it was a ranch. And on that ranch, we did horseback riding, we did archery, and we did riflery. Now, one of the things I really loved was archery. And I remember when I first started, I thought it was the coolest thing, this arrow sailing through the air to hit a target. And it looked rather simple. So I got my arrow, I got my bow, I pulled it back, and it dropped like not even a foot in front of me. And I continued to do that, and the same thing continued to happen. And I was getting frustrated. And I remember the teacher, the instructor coming up to me and saying, Suzanne, you've got to come to this with the same passion that lit you up when you first saw it. So he said, you've got to be passionate about the things you do. And so I took on passion. And for the rest of that day, I passionately aimed at that arrow, and nothing happened. Not much, it just landed in front of me. So I came back the next day armed with my passion, and I continued to aim. And then, of course, being young, I was easily frustrated and I wanted to give up. And then I remember the instructor saying to me, you've got to be able to practice. He says a big part of being persistent is practicing. And what he told me was everything you learn has skills, and you are going to be required to have the patience to learn the skills related to that craft, that whatever you're doing. So he started instructing me and teaching me all the skills, and I continued to come to the range practicing my new skills until I got them down. And my arrow started to fly, and it would go past the target. Sometimes it would hit the corner of the target, but it still wouldn't hit it. And again, I got impatient and frustrated and wanted to give up. And then my coach, the instructor, gave me the last piece of instruction. And he said, Suzanne, you are going to be required to be patient, and you're going to have to continue to practice and bring your passion to the table, but you're going to have to be patient until you do this enough times that it becomes a part of you. And so I began to practice, and I was patient, and I continuously came to the range, and I was getting better, but I hadn't hit the bullseye. And I remember the last thing he said to me. He said, you've been practicing, you've been patient, you know the skills. Now you have to drop in and trust that you know that you know that you know. And then he said, I want you to look at the arrow, the target, don't think about it, and just lean into the actions. And I did. And I hit the inside of the target for the first time. And as I continued to do what he taught me, I finally hit the bullseye. And then I would go to the range and hit the bullseye a few times every time I went. Now, this was the interesting thing, because one of the things about being persistent is something gets so ingrained in you that it becomes a part of who you are being. But the challenge is, most of us entrepreneurs, most of us self-employed people, most of us individuals, we want to get there quickly. We actually aren't persistent. So today, what I'm going to recommend to you is come to your craft with passion. Be willing to practice, exercise patience and trust. trust that whatever you're doing is going to become a part of you. You're going to put in those 10,000 hours, and soon people will be calling you the expert, because that's what it takes. This week's habit was persistence. Have a great week, and I'll see you back here next week.